Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today for today's Alumni Spotlight that's part of International Education Week. And for those of you who don't know what IEW is, I hope most of you do, but it is an initiative of the Department of State and Department of Education that help promote programming with a global perspective. And of course, our goal is to help create future leaders that are global citizens. And we have a lot of great events on campus right now. Please check it out at bc.edu/IEW. But for today's great event, Alumni Spotlight, we're very happy to have Diksha Tak and Lorraine Pereira with us to hear about their journey and also how their global perspectives have helped shape who they are today. And after I turn over the floor to them, we'll have an opportunity to hear their stories, but we will also open it up for Q&A at the end so we can hear from some of you to see what questions you might have. So please either raise your hand and we'll bring you on or use the Q&A function down at the bottom of the screen so we can do the Q&A part. So without further ado, please let me introduce our distinguished guests. So Diksha is co-founder and COO of GiveCard since graduating Boston College with a degree in international studies in 2021. She's been interested in the gaps of the financial system in the United States as well as abroad. Her work is informed by many different disciplines and personal experience. Growing up, she never thought about being an entrepreneur, but now she can't imagine it any other way. Welcome. Lorraine Pereira is also a co-founder and he is the CEO of GiveCard, which focuses on building international infrastructure, financial infrastructure for when the money really matters. Previously, Lorraine served as employee number 1 at TreeCard, the debit card that plants 1 billion trees. He graduated from Boston College in 2021 with a degree in computer science and economics. He was raised in Malawi, which he calls the warm heart of Africa. So welcome to you both. Thank you so much. We're really happy to have you join us and very excited to hear your stories with us. So please take it away. We're gonna remove ourselves from the picture, but we'll be back for Q&A at the end.
Amazing. Awesome. Thank you. Hi, everyone. Thanks for being here. We're really pumped to do this. Diksha and I have a pretty informal style when it comes to doing presentations or talks. So we might interrupt each other. We might argue. That's just how we roll. So nothing new over there. Cool. I'm going to set up a screen share real quick and we should be good to go. Sweet. Does everyone see this okay? Diksha, does this look good?
Yeah, looks good.
Looks great.
Awesome. Cool. Thanks, everyone. Cool. Hi, we're Lorraine and Diksha, co-founders of GiveCard, and both BC class of 2021. Here's some recently taken photographs of us about 20 odd years ago. That's me on the left. My mom, there's Diksha over there. I'm from Malawi, so Southeast Africa, very small country, borders Tanzania, Zimbabwe, Zambia, Mozambique. Really, really fun place and a place that I really miss. They call it the warm heart of Africa because people are really smiley and happy there. And I came to the US for college to attend BC.
And I'm from Medfield, Massachusetts, which is a little outside of Newton. Grew up there. My mom's from Nepal. My dad was born in Vietnam, so had kind of an international experience in that sense of growing up Asian American. And so that's a little bit about my background.
Oh, Diksha also loves soccer. I put that there, so she had no idea that was coming, but Diksha loves soccer. As you know now by all of the context, we both went to BC and it's a place that's really special to us. Made sure to put on my BC shirt a minute before this meeting, but major Proud Eagles. And GiveCard and what it is really, really rooted in Boston College. And I mean, you can't tell the GiveCard story without BC. Before we actually tell you what GiveCard is, it might be useful to kind of tell you how it became what it is. I was out to dinner with a few of my roommates my sophomore year at BC. We lived in 90, which is on, what do you call it, St. Thomas More Road. I was in the Nate Man, and a few of my roommates and I went out to dinner in Alston. We took the Beeline, got off at Harv Ave, got Korean fried chicken, which explains this emoji. It was a great night. One of my roommates got the bill, and I didn't have a card on me, so I said, "Hey, is it cool if I Venmo you?" Of course, Venmoed him, and we were all squared away. As we were waiting for the Beeline to get back to BC, there's a person facing homelessness sitting fairly close to the train station, and we were waiting a while, and so we just started a conversation. It was a great conversation, and it was about sports and very random things. And right as we could see now the train heading our way, he said, "Hey guys, like I need a new winter coat. Do any of you have any cash on you?" And it's a cold night in Boston, late October, like even like early November. This is now back in 2018, and so we're like, of course, like yes. I pull out my wallet, and I immediately knew I had no cash in it. I turned to my roommates, and they rifled through it, and there's no cash in their wallets either. And we said, "Sorry, like I don't have any money on me." And what really, really struck me personally is his response is just, "Don't worry, this happens all the time. I get it." And that was really the inception of gift card, and it's changed so much since then. But really, it's just that we're in a world going increasingly cashless, and many people still rely on cash in some form, and they're becoming increasingly marginalized. You can't open a bank account without a fixed address or an SSN. So what happens then? That's really the root of gift card and its story. Diksha and I ended up meeting the very next day, which I'm sure, Diksha, you can tell that bit.
Yeah, we actually met at a Shea Center entrepreneurship event, which I now think back on, and I actually wasn't supposed to go. A friend was like, "Oh, just come. They're going to provide free buses and you can go." And Lorraine and I ended up being in the same small group. And the question was, in this networking event, what do you want to do for the future? Being a sophomore in college, I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I knew that I wanted to work in social impact, the nonprofit world in some way. And Lorraine comes up to me after this event and goes, "Hey, I just came up with this idea. Do you want to work on it with me?" He had no idea who I was. We had just met, and he took a leap of faith on that. And now we're here. I don't know how, I can't do math, but like how many years since then, working together as co-founders. And so pretty special moment.
And yeah, it was kind of awesome. Diksha and I are like best friends now, believe it or not. But back, oh, did I just lose? Oh, my PowerPoint's crashed. Sorry about that, everyone. We're gonna boot that back up. But I should probably explain what gift card even is. Effectively, what we look to do is we said, let's just fix this cash donation piece of everything. Bear with me while I get this back up. My screen share is a little off. There we go. It's, can we develop some sort of system where we can get money directly to people regardless of banking status or documentation status? Like maybe they don't have an SSN, maybe they don't have a fixed address, but still accessing modern financial technologies. I Venmoed my roommate for dinner. Why can't I get money directly to this person facing homelessness using similar digital rails? That's really what gift cards started as. Imagine you're walking somewhere and you see someone, they might have a QR code and a sign that says, "Hey, to donate to me for responsibly managed money, scan this QR code," and you can use Apple Pay and get the money. That's what gift cards set out to do. To start, we needed money. We had no idea what we were doing or no path. We figured, all right, like this is likely a nonprofit, so let's incorporate a nonprofit. Spent more money than we really should have on that. And then became a 501c3. And then we said, we need to raise money. We got together a bunch of awesome BC people. Within 2 days, we had a team of 9 people, all BC students that like Diksha and I had known through some forms. And it's actually cool now, 5 years later, 5 of those people are still working full-time on gift cards. So, or even got to come back to gift card after some years away. So that's been really special. But we did this, and I don't know who's attending this. I hope there's no board of trustees on this call. We printed out letters to with the addresses of every single BC board of trustees member, past and present, and mailed them to them and asked for money. And BC alumni are very generous, and we're going to assume that none of these letters actually made it into any inboxes, but we didn't get any money. We got like no money. We did raise a healthy couple $1,000s from a GoFundMe that we put on Instagram. But you know, like we tried. So this is in Hillside Cafe, I think, or right above Hillside, on Lower Campus. And we had like all the 9 gift carders at the time, just hand signing every letter. I think we had 9 signatures on every letter. Yeah, that was fun. Anyway, we kept trying. A question started coming up, and this gold medal makes us look like winners, but likely the opposite back then. It's when you have an idea that sounds so simple and so good. It's like, oh, we're going to digitize cash donation. Why has no one done this before? And I think that's a couple months into this journey. We've raised a couple $1,000s. We're feeling good. We have 9 people. Like, there's a lot of social pressure now. Our friends know we're working on this. It's all right. Like, now let's solve the hard parts. How do we do it? And that's when we started to realize how broken the financial system is. Because at its very essence, gift card needed the powers of a bank. We had to be able to issue debit cards, transfer money. We had many parties coming in. We had ideas of like incentivizing savings. If we see that someone saved a certain amount in their gift card, we were thinking, why not incentivize them with a $100 bonus that month? We essentially looked to be a nonprofit bank, which is like as juxtaposition as it gets. But this is really what we kind of set up. You should feel free to interrupt me at any point, by the way. Yeah, and so this is now what we had to figure out. Also, it doesn't help that we told like everyone that we were launched like 1 month from the day Deeksha and I met, and it started to become a bit of a running joke. We definitely felt a little bit clowny because it actually took years from the moment that Deeksha and I met and said that we were going to do a gift card to actually get anything off the ground, even get a quote from a bank to work with us.
Yeah, and I think going off of that point too is that we came in to this with so much optimism that we were gonna create change and that we could do this, and we had momentum. I think that optimism is the reason why we tried so hard for so many years to get this up and running. Us having that naivety a little bit was the reason why gift card has lasted for how long it has.
Absolutely, because this figure you're seeing on the screen was the first bill we got from a bank when we'd finally sat at a very serious, very well-known bank, when we finally sat down with people high enough in it to take us seriously and got a quote for this is what it would cost to run card issuing for gift cards, $750,000. And in our bank account, we had about this much. So it came out to a sum total of negative $747,600 was our balance to be paid. So needless to say, we did not end up launching with that bank and did not launch with gift card at that point. To be honest, there's no real good answer to what to do next. We really just shrugged and said like, well, that sucks. But we've now been working on it. Like you just said, it was pure optimism. We'd worked on this now for well over a year. It's no point quitting at this point. We might as well just exhaust every option to see what could happen. And that's really what we'll do. I'll save you another 1.5 years or so of constantly trying and calling up different banks and networking in the industry and becoming like actually figuring out fintech. And we ended up getting a great pro bono law firm that explained money movement paths that we could take and started pitching new ways of issuing these cards. Rather than issuing these cards to individuals, could we issue them to a business and make sub-accounts that individuals are authorized to use? We started figuring out these paths that weren't really paving in banking, but that we saw were viable. And eventually we started to get workable solutions. I will say our solutions, looking back on it, were not legal nor compliant, but have to do what you have to do. We ended up onboarding every person facing homelessness as a contractor for gift card and gave them expense cards. And any lawyer will tell us it's the worst idea possible, but it's better than not launching at all. And so we did that. And in 2021, so now our senior year, roughly 2.5 years into running gift card, we had our first set of cards that we were able to put money on and hand out. And we did to 16 people around Boston, and it was awesome. But the next big obstacle came, which is graduation. Gift card basically spent all that 2000x money. It eventually became like $7,000 over the years, but all of the money we had on that 116 card pilot. Now we're graduating. We had, at this point, the team had become 11 people. Obviously can't pay them, but how do you keep this thing going with any seriousness? We had a difficult conversation with the team to say like, look, like we can't sustain most of you. And Deeksha and I decided that we were going to be the ones to keep gift card going, and we just keep people on the loop, let them have a weekly call with us where they can hear how things are going. and figure it out. I took a second job at TreeCard, and Diksha and I kind of unfairly split that money. I say unfairly because I took a majority of it. Diksha's really nice.
No.
Doesn't think about money that much, but
Well, we also were in a very privileged position in the sense that I lived at home, I had supportive parents, and I also we also applied to grants and things like that in order to cover the operational costs. Lorraine and I had this serious conversation of let's push this as far as we can for a year. And I think that mentality of we're going to leave everything on the table right now. We're going to push this as hard as we can. At the end of this, if it doesn't work out, at least we said that we tried every possibility at all. But that was the worst case scenario. The best case scenario is where we are now. And so that I can't believe that was 2 years ago, but yeah, so that we can move on.
And yeah, and so we kept going and things started to work out. The right people were hearing the right things. Don't mean to flex on everyone, but yeah, we ended up on the front page of the Globe's business section, and that really did help us immensely. We started getting checks were just being sent to our mailbox, like no letters attached, nothing. People would just track us down through BC and send us money, and GiveCard was suddenly starting to roll. Rolling maybe a little bit too fast. This is a picture of Diksha and I in my old apartment in downtown Boston that year. So this is now beginning of 2022. Slightly overwhelmed. Like, we're using basically employee expense cards to move this money. It's an extremely manual process. We're basically like cutting open every envelope that actually has the expense card, activating that and creating an account for every card, because we can't assume that our cardholders have internet and know how to create an account, loading money onto those cards individually, repackaging, resealing those cards, and then shipping them wherever it is to distribution partners across the country. We ended up landing really interesting partnerships with a few other organizations that said, hey, we really like GiveCard's method of just giving people money directly. Can we give you money and can you ship us cards with that money on it? And we're just going to hand it out. And then they'll say, like, we'll keep sending you money and just reload the card every month for a couple of months. And these kind of programs started picking up. But now Diksha and I had a new problem. And for the first time in GiveCard, really like 3.5 years in at this point, close to 4 years in, we started to worry about scale. And I think I'm really glad that we were naive, but we weren't naive enough to think about scale at any point before this. We just kind of put one foot in front of the other. But here it really was, we were spending days and nights cutting open envelopes and putting cards back in. Weird to say, but I had like an abnormal amount of paper cuts and it actually started to hurt. Maybe I'm just immensely soft. It just was not a scalable process. And we knew if we were moving more than a few thousand cards a month, Diksha and I would just have zero time to do anything else GiveCard related. So we needed to figure out the card problem. These expense cards or kind of reshippable cards were not something we could do, especially now that other organizations were working with GiveCard. And so we basically slowed down, we looked inward and we said, what's broken is the financial system and cards. So let's just build that from scratch. We've got this consistent volume of money moving out through GiveCard now. We don't have to be fundraising. Other organizations are giving us the money to hand out. So let's fix the cards. And so we did. And this is a picture of the GiveCard. I think we call it the GiveCard 2, but it's really the GiveCard 1. Everyone, most of our close friends have one of these wallets now because we've tested hundreds of them, but it really is just a card built for exactly our use case. We issue them to businesses. In this case, GiveCard is the business. And anyone can use them because we make sub-accounts on the business's bank account that authorize users, which is people facing homelessness, just anyone you want to could get this card and use it without any identification needed. So no SSNs, no fixed addresses, really nothing. We can just hand these out. And so we developed a really interesting regulatory path to do this, which is great.
And so this was the part where we still have the nonprofit and it's still a big part of our organization, but we realized that our superpower was actually this card infrastructure and this technology. And so we did create a for-profit entity in that in order to bring in some money.
Yeah, Diksha's exactly right. We sat down and we just looking at how our time was best spent. We're not good nonprofit fundraisers. I mean, in our lifetime for that nonprofit, maybe $40,000 or $50,000 ever was what was raised. Maybe it's that we're young, maybe what we're doing just isn't ideal, maybe we're not likable, likely that last one, but it really was just not working, but we had something valuable at the core of it, and that was our cards. And so we turned and we raised a couple $1 million in venture capital from some really, really well-known investors that all had the same feeling as us. That is, like, gift card can make a serious difference, but it needs to be taken seriously in banking and finance. And so they did. They gave us serious amounts of money and treated us like real people. We ended up hiring back a lot of our core gift card team back in the day. That's Anna, Sophia, Colin, all are with us right now. And this is from our Give Camp. We did like a little retreat in Connecticut. Fun place to retreat, by the way, in the winter. Had a great time building back the team. And we've been going since then. And really what and this is we opened a cozy little office in New York recently. We sadly moved from Boston to New York to kind of prioritize in finance and fintech. But since then, and since that pivot to being a for-profit, really our mission is we're going to make moving money over cards really, really accessible. We work with dozens of nonprofits and organizations across the country. Even now, we have city governments and state governments giving out benefits through our cards, with the general thought process being that cash is outdated and we shouldn't be handing out cash anymore. Checks are extremely expensive to people that are unbanked, and there's no other way of moving money, like ACH, wire transfers, any sort of direct deposit relies on the end recipient having a bank account. Gift card is really the modern infrastructure of moving money to that piece of the population. We're treating cards as a vital piece of financial infrastructure rather than as a vessel for your bank account. And so that's what we're doing. We've learned a couple really cool things over the years. Don't be selfish with the journey. I mean, this is a major one. It's just like gift card could have been something that Diksha and I bottled up between the two of us and tried to do alone. And it was bringing on 9 people. And it was just exciting. Even that night that I met Diksha, talking about gift card as this thing to be shared and this thing to be like done together, it was everything for this. We wouldn't have survived that first year, and definitely not that first 2.5 years, if it wasn't for a bunch of people on this journey with us, even if it's just peer pressure and the fear of like embarrassing yourself. There's always a third option is a major thing we picked up. Diksha and I, we were in a bit of a conundrum at one point. We're accepted into Y Combinator, the massive startup accelerator. Basically gives you a lot of money, and a lot of really cool companies have come out of it, like Airbnb and Stripe, a bunch of others. And it was the moment that gift card could have been taken really seriously as a company, but I would have been deported if I took it because I was in a weird student visa situation. And so Diksha and I kind of sat there and spent an entire night, like no sleep, just trying to figure out what to do. Do we take the money from this one entity and I get deported, or do we not, and gift card not be taken seriously? We learned that there was a third option. Why couldn't we take money from someone else in a way that wouldn't get me deported, where I could keep my visa status in? It's been a nice reminder as we keep going through really difficult decisions that that's a route.
Lorraine, do you mind going back to that? I just wanted to mention that this was also a time where we used our community, mentors, BC especially, being able to talk to folks and them share with us this third option. For us, it felt like one or the other. And now as we've run our company, when we've run into challenges, we realize that it doesn't have to be binary by any means.
Yeah, it was Justin Robinson, so BC alum, the one that started Drizzly, that said like, hey, I'll give you $100,000 if you don't take Y Combinator, but you do focus on gift card full time. And that was a big moment for us. Like, oh, is that even a route? Being nice takes you most of the way. Should be straightforward, but for some reason isn't. We'd kind of got this advice at one point, the opposite of this advice, that it's like, no one's going to take you seriously if you're just kind of 2 kids with a personality. Diksha and I, now looking back from the last 5 years, honestly, being really, really nice to people is how we made bank deals affordable and got to where we are. Sometimes it pays to be friendly as a default. And 2 more, I swear we're not just going to hit you with a self-help book. The journey is always inclined to end early. Don't let it. So many times in Diksha and I's journey with gift card, it was supposed to end early. And it really is that things just tend to finicity. I don't know if that's a word. Things just tend to end. And so it really was like us forcing ourselves to just keep giving it 1 more year and 1 more year and 1 more month to get to this point. At this point, now there's no question if will we give it another 5 years, but it took a long time to build that confidence. Yeah, and oh, I have totally botched this, but that's really it. The next big update for a gift card is that we're going international. Maybe relevant to this, we've opened Give Peso, which is a sister company to Gift Card that does direct financial transfers over mobile money networks in Africa. So 13 African countries, you can just send money to someone's mobile phone as opposed to card. So we're really looking at what we've done here, but adapting it to the world. So would love to dive into questions, Q&A, rip us apart. Yeah.
Thank you so much. I just love hearing your story. It's really inspirational. You know, first of all, you said, I think we're not getting money because we're not likable. That is not the case. You two are very, very likable. So thank you so much again for coming and sharing your story. You know, again, I find it inspirational. You find this problem, you want to work for social justice, you look for a solution, and this word perseverance keeps coming up in your story, and it's really true. It's not only did you have a great idea, but the two of you just kept working. You two of you and your team just kept working, persevered, and here you are today with a great story to tell and a great product, great business. And I wonder, because I'm sure other people are going to be really inspired by this, is there a way that individuals can use gift card or one of the other options as a way to help them give money or find solutions to problems that they see?
Absolutely. So there's two routes for this. One is a little more paved, which is there are orgs that we work with across the country. For example, Uplifting Women provides money directly to women fleeing domestic violence, and they use our cards to do that. There are ways to work with the orgs that exclusively operate with our cards, which is effectively like giving to us, but really just supporting our mission. The other route, if you are someone that says, I want to give money over a card to somebody, definitely reach out. This is something we're designing. You can almost imagine a vending machine in a CVS where you can just get cards, scan a code, and load money on it, then give it to anyone. There is a path to that. We're working through some regulatory about that, but we're building a list of first users for something like that. So definitely worth reaching out. Lorraine at givecard.io or contact at givecard.io or LinkedIn.
Awesome. Thank you.